Don't downgrade your dream just to fit your reality. Upgrade your conviction to match your destiny. With this thought, a very good morning to all my dear students. I hope that you all are in good health. I, Shreya Jadhav, welcome you all to my e learning channel. And today we are going to do English Grade 10, Chapter 5 and 6. In the previous video, we have done Chapter 5. The 100 Dresses, Part 1. The 100 Dresses, Part 2. Written by Albasor Esther. In the previous video, we have done the reading and explanation of Chapter 5. And today, in this video, we'll be doing the 100 Dresses, Part 2, that is Chapter number 6. So let us know something about the author. Eleanor Estes, born May 9, 1906, died July 15, 1988, was an American children's author and children's librarian. Her book Ginger Pie, which also created illustrations for, won the Newbery Medal. 3 of her books were Newbery Honor winner. Her books were based in her life in small town in the early 1900s. Introduction for answer. Dear students, whenever you write down your answers, always start your answer by introduction or with introduction. This creates a really good impact. Prose name the 100 Dresses. Over here you can put part 1, part 2 from whichever chapter the question emerges. Author's name Albasor Esther. Genre short story. Summary. Here is a story of a girl named Wenda Petronsky, a poor Polish girl who migrated in America, and she was frequently bullied by her classmates. So now let us go through the summary of chapter 1, which we have done in the previous video. As I have told you earlier also, both the chapters are in a continuous link. Both the stories are, we can say, divided into two different parts. So let us go through the summary of the chapter. So here is the summary. Wenda Petronsky was a poor Polish girl who went to school where mostly American children studied. She used to sit in the corner of room number 13, where usually the rough boys sat making a lot of noise. She might have sat there because her feet were usually caked with dry mud. It was Monday and she was not on her seat, but no one was bothered. She lived at Bogans Heights, a poor locality, and she always wore a faded blue dress. She was a simple and quiet girl who rarely spoke anything. She didn't have any friends. Peggy made fun of Wenda by asking her how many dresses she had. She answered that she had 100 dresses lined up in her closet. She also told them that she had 60 pairs of shoes of different colors. On hearing this, the girls would start laughing. Maddie was also in the same class. She was also a poor girl. She wore old clothes too. She did not like to make fun of Wenda Petronsky. Peggy was the most liked girl in the whole class, so Maddie did not have the courage to ask Peggy to stop making fun of Venda. She decided to write a note to Peggy, but stopped writing and tore the note to pieces as she thought she would become a new target for Peggy and other girls to make fun of her hands down dresses from Peggy. Maddie thought about the drawing competition held in the school. She thought Peggy would be the winner because her drawing was the best in the class. The result was going to be declared the next day. Peggy and Maddie did not wait for Wenda and started for the school. When they entered the classroom, they saw a lot of drawings all over the room. Miss Mason announced the result. She declared Jack Bagels had won from the boys for designing a motorboat, and among the girls, Wanda was the winner for designing the best dress. However, that day, Wanda was absent. She had drawn 100 dresses and designs. All the students were surprised at her drawing exhibited in the room number 13. They all cheered and clapped for Wanda. So, this is the summary of Chapter 5, The 100 Dresses, Part 1. And today we are going to do the reading and explanation of chapter number 6. Chapter number 6, The 100 Dresses, Part 2. Written by Albasor Esther. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention, class, everyone back to their seat. When the shuffling of the feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, I have a letter from Wanda's father that I want to read to you. Miss Mason stood there a moment, and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming, this letter from Wanda's father, was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. So, in this second part, the whole class was circling in the room and they were observing the drawings and the sketches made. At that time duration, the observer from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason usually read it for several times, studied it thoughtfully, and then she told the students to get back to their seats. While everything was still and quiet in the classroom, she announced that a letter had come from Wanda's father and she wished to read to all the students. Miss Mason, for a moment, kept silence, and the intensity grew up. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately, and everybody started listening with great importance what the matter was. So the letter is, Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jack also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler pollex. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny name in the big cities. Yours sincerely, Jane Petronsky. So a very brief note was given and the letter informed that Wenda Petronsky and her brother Jake would no longer be coming to school as they had shifted to a bigger city. He also informed that now his children would not be teased for their origin and their name. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. I'm sure that none of the boys and girls in the room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name is happened to be a long, unfamiliar one. So, after reading out this brief letter, the whole class was really very quiet. Moreover to that, Miss Mason took off her glasses and she spoke in a very low voice, and she told that this incident, whoever might have done, whether it is a girl or a boy in the room number 13, they might not have done this purposefully and deliberately, and their intention was not to hurt anyone's feeling because of their long unfamiliar name. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, that this is very unfortunate thing to have happened. Unfortunate and sad, both. And I want you all to think about it. The first period was a study period. Mary tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wenda how many dresses she had in her closet. But she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean, but she, Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Wenda's shoes. So over here, what situation came? That after reading the letter, Miss Mason was feeling very sad for Wenda Petronsky, and she also told and informed students that they should not hurt anyone's feeling. Maddie was also very sad. She was also feeling guilty that she had not stopped Peggy from making fun of Wenda. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wenda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy, but Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, she, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Wenda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy could climb the heights with her, and they could tell Wenda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart and 100 dresses were beautiful. Now, over here, Maddie is feeling really very guilty and bad that she was also part of making fun of Wenda. She did not do it purposefully, but she hadn't also stopped Peggy from doing the same thing. And because to clear out her guilt, she decided that it might be a chance or possibility that she might not have moved away. So Peggy and Maddie, both of them would go to her home, and she would not tell, both of them would tell her sorry for whatever they have done. And they would also announce that she had won the contest also. They would say that she was a smart as well as her 100 dresses were also very beautiful. You can see over here images are given of the dresses. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said, with pretended casualness, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid has left town or not." So Peggy had the same idea. Maddie glowed. Peg was really all right. The two girls hurried out of the building, up the street towards Boggin's Heights, the part of the town that wore such forbidding air on this kind of November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. So, over here, when the school left, at that time they thought that they would go to the Boggins Height to meet her. Well, at last, said Peggy gruffly, I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And Guy, look how she can draw. Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they could find Wanda. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was. And please not to move away, and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. I think that's where the Petronsky live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Wisps of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway, like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Wenda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. There was no sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still, there was no answer. So, what happened? Maddie decided to go to Wenda's house and apologize to her and tell her that she had won the first prize in the contest, and also tell her not to leave the town. In the afternoon, when the school was over, both of them decided. On the way, Peggy apologized for no making fun of Wanda and that she would never do it again. However, when they reached Wenda's house, they found that no one was there. They knocked at the door, but there was no reply. Wanda's family had gone and they were disappointed. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskis were gone. How could they even make amends? They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she's gone now, so what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her all about her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there was anything in it, she could not have to feel so badly. But that night, she could not get to sleep. She thought about Wenda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. She thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made, all lined up in the classroom. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought. This was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. She was knowing never going to stand by and say nothing again. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wenda. But from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. So eventually, that night, Maddie could not sleep. She thought all about Wenda and her dresses and the house. At that night, she decided that she would never stand by those who ill treated or misbehaved anybody. She would oppose them, she would raise her voice. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wenda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest and telling Wenda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were, and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind they could have written to any good friend. And they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Bogin's Height, writing please forward on the envelope. Days passed and there was no answer, but letter did not come back. So maybe Wanda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry she was not going to answer. You could not blame her. Weeks went by and still Wanda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maddie put herself to sleep at night, making speeches about Wenda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her with, how many dresses have you got? And before Wanda could press her lips together in tight line, the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out, stop. Then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. Now it was Christmas time and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. On the last day of the school, before the holidays, the teacher showed the class a letter she had received that morning. So, what happened? It was Saturday when Peggy and Maddie started to write down a letter to Wanda Petronsky. In it, they praised her drawings and told about her winning the first prize in the contest. This was their way to say sorry to her, but it turned up to be a friendly letter, like they used to write to their dear friends. They posted it to Bogin's Heights, writing, please forward, on the envelope, but for a long time they didn't get any reply. And before Christmas, it was the last day for their school. After that, they were having their Christmas holidays. Suddenly, Miss Mason showed the class a letter, now which she had received that morning. You remember Wenda Petronsky, the gifted artist, little artist, who won the drawing contest. Well, she has written me, and I am glad to know where she lives because now I can send her medal. I want to read her letter to you. The class set up a sudden interest and listened intently. So now eventually what happened that no, Miss Mason showed the class a letter from Wenda, and the teacher was really very happy, and the whole class suddenly started showing interest and, and listened very carefully. Dear Miss Mason, how are you? And room 13. Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses. Because in my new house, I have 100 new ones, all lined up in my closet. I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with the red trimming, and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas, I miss that school, and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Venda Petronsky. So, over here, she wrote that the girls could keep all her dresses as in now in her new house she had other new 100 dresses in her closet. She also wished a happy Christmas to the ma'am as well as to all the students. And she also wrote that she missed the school as well as Miss Mason because no one could not equalize with her. On the way home from school, Maddie and Peggy held their drawings very carefully. All the houses had wreaths and holly in the window. Outside the grocery store, hundreds of Christmas trees were stacked, and in the window, candy peppermint sticks and cornucopias of shiny transparent papers were strung. The air smelled like Christmas, and light shining everywhere reflected different colors on the snow. Boy, said Peggy, this shows she really likes us. It shows she got our letter, and this is her way of saying that everything's all right. And that's that. I hope so, said Maddie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she could never see the little tight lipped Polish girl again and couldn't ever really make things right between them. She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in a pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of colors. Maddie sat down on her bed and looked at the drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Wenda had been nice to her anyway. Tears blurred her eyes, and she gazed for a long time at the picture. Then, hastily, she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. The colors in the dress were so vivid that she had scarcely noticed the face and the head of the drawing. But it looked like her. Maddie, it really looked like her own mouth. Why, it really looked like her own self. Wanda had really drawn this for her. Excitedly, she ran over to Peggy. Peg, she said, let me see your picture. What's the matter? Asked Peggy, as they clattered up to her room where Wanda's drawing was lying face down on the bed. Maddie carefully raised it. Look, she drew you. That's you, she exclaimed. And the head and the face of that picture did look like Peggy. What did I say? Said Peggy. She must have really liked us anyway. Yes, she must have, agreed Maddie, and she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Wenda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off. After she had said, sure, 100 of them, all lined up. So at the end, Maddie and Peggy took their dresses to their home. When Maddie pinned her blue dress design in her bedroom, she noticed that it was her face in the drawing. She went to Peggy and found Peggy's face on the green dress. So they realized that Wanda liked them, though they had teased her. They had tears in their eyes. They were just thinking about Wanda. So, this is all about a beautiful chapter, The Hundred Dresses, written by Elbasor Esther. So, I hope you all have enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. If you still find any doubt or difficulties, you can comment down in the comment section. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.